In part 1 of the Beverly Hills tragedy, we saw the carefully crafted worlds of Rajan Mehta and Madison Thompson begin to collide. A respected immigrant success story and a young woman searching for validation formed a dangerous connection, one that crossed boundaries and ignited a secret passion. But what started as late-night texts and whispered meetings soon spiraled into something much darker. Behind the polished facades of luxury homes and perfect family images, obsession, lies, and betrayal were taking root. In Part 2, we dive deeper into Rajan's double life and Madison's growing desperation. From hidden payments to secret rendezvous, their relationship tightened like a noose, threatening to destroy everything. And when ultimatums are delivered, the stakes rise higher than ever before. Before we begin, let us know in the comments, do you think Rajan truly loved Madison, or was she just a dangerous secret he couldn't control? Also, drop your name and where you're watching from in the comments. You might get a special shout out in Part 3. And don't forget, hit that like button, share this video with a fellow true crime fan, and subscribe so you don't miss the final chapter where the shocking truth comes out. Week 2, 30 to 40 messages, blending professional advice with personal compliments. Like you light up any room you walk into, Madison. Week 3, over 80 messages daily, stretching past midnight, delving into dreams, regrets, and unspoken desires that neither dared voice aloud. Each text a step closer to a line they knew they shouldn't cross. The content shifted from professional to deeply confessional, a dangerous dance of vulnerability and allure that felt thrilling yet perilous. Madison, do you ever feel like you're living someone else's life? Like you're playing a role you didn't choose, just to keep everyone happy? Rajan, all the time. Success comes with a script, family, community, duty. It's like wearing a mask that's starting to choke you. Madison, at least you've built something real, something lasting. I'm just faking adulthood, posting lies to look successful while drowning in debt and rejections. Rajan, you're wiser than most people twice your age. Madison, your spark is rare, don't let anyone dim it. You're going to shine, I know it. A critical turning point came one humid April evening when Madison called Rajan at 9:15 p.m., her voice breaking with sobs that echoed through the phone, each word heavy with pain. Her father had canceled a long-planned visit to LA, citing a scheduling conflict with his stepson's Little League tournament, a flimsy excuse that reopened old wounds of rejection from her teenage years, when she'd sit by the phone waiting for his calls. Why does everyone who's supposed to love me choose someone else? She cried, her words muffled by tears. I'm invisible to them, to everyone. What's wrong with me? Rajan, acting on impulse, drove to her house, parking a block away to avoid nosy neighbors' Ring cameras, his Tesla blending into the shadows of a quiet side street. They sat in his car in her driveway for over an hour, the air heavy with her tears and his quiet reassurances. The hum of the car's climate control a faint backdrop. Madison poured out her fears, of being unseen, of failing to live up to her potential, of never finding genuine connection in a world that felt shallow and transactional, where likes and followers defined worth. Rajan listened intently, his usual polished demeanor softened by what seemed like empathy, though later analysts would question if it was calculation, a predator sensing an opportunity. I feel like no one who matters sees me, she said, clutching a crumpled tissue, her mascara streaked, her voice barely above a whisper. My mom's always working, my dad's gone, my friends just want to party and post. I'm alone, Rajan. You're not invisible to me, he replied, his voice low and steady as he reached for her hand, a gesture meant to comfort but lingering too long, his fingers entwining with hers, his thumb brushing her skin. You're extraordinary, Madison. You matter more than you know. The touch, charged with an intimacy both recognized but didn't voice, crossed a line, a precipice they both knew they were teetering on. The moment hung suspended, the faint glow of the Tesla's dashboard illuminating their faces as their eyes met, acknowledging the boundary they just breached, the spark now aflame. When Rajan returned home at 11 p.m., Kavita was asleep after a long day organizing a temple fundraiser for underprivileged youth in rural India, her laptop open to spreadsheets of donations. In his home office, surrounded by framed awards, Entrepreneur of the Year 2022, Temple Community Leader 2023, and family photos, Priya's dance recital, Aryan's Science Fair trophy, Rajan stared at his phone, wrestling with the knowledge that he should cut contact to protect his life's work, his marriage of 17 years, his children's trust, his reputation as a community pillar. Instead, he texted her, unable to resist the pull. Rajan, feeling better? You deserve to be cherished every single day, Madison. Madison, thank you for seeing me, really seeing me. No one's ever done that before. I don't know what I'd do without you. From that night forward, their relationship accelerated with dizzying speed, like a runaway train hurtling toward a cliff. Business meetings morphed into candlelit dinners at restaurants in far-flung corners of Los Angeles, discreet bistros in Sherman Oaks with velvet curtains, beachfront haunts in Malibu with ocean views, chosen to avoid familiar faces from their neighborhood or temple. Text messages evolved from friendly to flirtatious, then intimate, with photos shifting from casual selfies. Madison at a farmer's market holding a bouquet of sunflowers, Rajan on a morning run in Griffith Park, to suggestive shots. Madison in a low-cut sundress at sunset, her skin glowing, Rajan shirtless after a workout, his smile daring her to respond. Physical boundaries eroded gradually but deliberately. Hand-holding during emotional talks by the Santa Monica Pier became lingering touches on arms or shoulders during walks along secluded trails in Runyon Canyon. A goodbye hug outside a hotel lobby in Irvine stretched seconds too long. Their bodies pressed closer than propriety allowed, their breaths sinking in the warm night air. The sexual tension, once a faint undercurrent, became a roaring tide neither could ignore, a current pulling them toward disaster. On May 15, 2024, they crossed the definitive line, sharing their first kiss in the dimly lit parking lot of a coastal restaurant in Malibu, the sound of crashing waves masking their racing heartbeats. It was passionate, desperate, a collision of pent-up longing, followed by an immediate wave of guilt and confusion that crashed over them like the tide, cold and sobering. "This is madness," Madison whispered, pulling back, her breath uneven as she pressed a hand to her lips, her eyes wide with both desire and fear. "We can't do this, Rajan. You're married and I'm too young for this." "I know," he said, his voice low, almost hoarse, but he didn't move away, his hand still resting on her cheek, his thumb brushing her skin, his eyes locked on hers. "I know, but I can't stop thinking about you." They sat in his Tesla for another hour, the ocean breeze drifting through cracked windows as they grappled with the impossibility of their situation. Rajan was bound by a marriage of nearly 2 decades, 2 children who idolized him, Aryan coding apps in his image, Priya dancing to honor their heritage, and a cultural community where infidelity was not just a personal failing but a public disgrace, a betrayal of collective values like family honor and dharma. Madison, at 22, was young enough to be his daughter, her life barely begun, her reputation in their image-conscious enclave hanging by a thread. Their neighbors would gossip mercilessly at summer barbecues, whispering over rows about the affair that ruined the Metas. His temple would shun him, stripping his board position and social standing, his speeches on integrity rendered hypocritical. Her fledgling career would be tainted by scandal, her 20,000 Instagram followers, her lifeline to validation, turning on her with cruel comments like homewrecker or gold digger. Yet, instead of ending it, they agreed to be more cautious, switching to encrypted apps like Signal for communication, avoiding local haunts like the Beverly Hills Hotel, and using cash for shared expenses to avoid credit card trails. The secret affair was born, a dangerous dance of desire and deception that would consume them both. Over the next month, they met regularly at nondescript hotels in Burbank or upscale suites in Orange County, far from Elm Avenue's watchful eyes and the Temple's gossip network. Rajan covered all expenses with a secondary credit card Kavita never saw, booking rooms under aliases like Ravi Shah or Jade Patel to deflect suspicion. His business acumen turned to subterfuge. Madison told friends she was seeing someone new, describing him vaguely as older, successful, super private, dodging specifics when Jessica pressed for details over brunch at Earth Cafe. Is he some tech bro? An actor? Give me something, Mads. The relationship filled gaping emotional voids for both. For Madison, Rajan's consistent attention, daily text checking on her day, thoughtful gifts like a $2,200 rose gold necklace from Cartier, or monthly business loans of $3,000, made her feel valued in ways her absent father and distracted mother never had. He listened to her dreams of launching a media empire, offering feedback that felt empowering, not patronizing, like suggesting she target wellness brands for her consulting gigs. For Rajan, Madison's adoration and youthful energy rekindled a passion missing from his marriage, where intimacy had dwindled amid parenting stresses, Kavita's focus on the kids, and his own 80-hour workweeks. In her eyes, he was a hero, not just a guy who paid the $10,000 monthly mortgage or organized temple charity drives. But even in this intoxicating early phase, cracks appeared, like hairline fractures in a seemingly perfect sculpture, threatening to shatter under pressure. Madison grew increasingly possessive, her texts turning anxious when Rajan couldn't respond instantly due to family dinners or client calls at Meditech. Are you with her? Why aren't you answering? Don't you care about me? She'd write, sending multiple follow-ups, sometimes 7 or 8 in a row, if he was delayed by a board meeting or Arian's soccer practice. She began tracking his online status on Signal, noting when he was active but not replying, her messages laced with hurt. I saw you were online at 11 p.m. Why didn't you text back? Are you avoiding me? Rajan, meanwhile, wove a web of lies to maintain his double life. To Kavita, he cited late-night strategy sessions with East Coast hospital clients. To Vikram, client dinners in San Diego or San Francisco. To his children, work stress for his distracted demeanor during their weekly movie nights, when he'd stare blankly at Inception while texting Madison under the table. The dissonance between his public persona as a devoted husband, father, and community leader and his private actions gnawed at him, manifesting in sleepless nights. A new reliance on single malt scotch, $200 bottles of Lagavulin hidden in his office, and a short temper that startled his usually composed family, like when he snapped at Priya for spilling mango lassi on the couch. By late May, they were ensnared in a relationship that fed their deepest needs while threatening to unravel everything else. Rajan's empire of success, built over decades of relentless work. Madison's fragile sense of self, still forming in her early 20s as she navigated a world that judged her by her follower count. Neither had the resolve to walk away, the thrill of their stolen moments, secret kisses in hotel elevators, whispered promises under starlit skies, outweighing the mounting risks. The summer loomed, hot and heavy with unspoken tensions, setting the stage for an obsession that would spiral into desperation and, ultimately, tragedy. This story is a stark reminder of how quickly relationships can turn toxic when boundaries blur and secrets take hold. If it's resonating with you, take a moment to share this video with someone who might need to recognize the signs of manipulation in their own life. Your share could make a difference. Subscribe to our channel for more stories that uncover the truth behind closed doors, and let us know in the comments, where are you watching from? Whether it's Cape Town, Chicago, Dubai, or a small village, I want to hear from you. Also, share your thoughts. Have you ever noticed red flags in a relationship that gave you pause? What stood out to you in Rajan and Madison's dynamic? Your insights could spark a vital conversation and help others stay safe. The clandestine bond between Rajan Mehta and Madison Thompson morphed from a fiery affair into a dangerous fixation as Los Angeles sweltered through the summer of 2024. The city's heat mirroring the intensity of their unraveling relationship. What began as mutual attraction and emotional fulfillment twisted into a psychological trap, binding them in a cycle of need, control, and escalating desperation that neither could escape. Madison's behavior showed the earliest signs of unhealthy escalation, her initial gratitude for Rajan's support, his time, his money, his belief in her dreams, morphing into possessive demands for his constant presence. When his commitments, board meetings at Meditech temple events like the annual Ganesh Chaturthi festival, or family outings like Priya's dance recitals, delayed his responses, her texts grew frantic and accusatory. Why are you ignoring me? Are you with Kavita? If you really cared, you'd make time for me. She installed a location-sharing app, Find My Friends, pinging his phone's whereabouts and questioning discrepancies. Like a late-night stop in Glendale when he'd claimed to be at his downtown office working on a server upgrade for a hospital client. Her social media became a flashpoint, amplifying the tension between them like gasoline on a smoldering fire. Madison's Instagram posts continued to project an image of financial independence. Chanel bags slung over her shoulder, spa retreats at Burke Williams, rooftop cocktails at the Standard with views of the LA skyline. But most were funded by Rajan's generosity, with wire transfers exceeding $18,000 by July, often labeled consulting fees to mask their true purpose. She began dropping cryptic hints about a mystery man, sharing photos of lavish gifts, a $1,500 Tiffany heart bracelet, a bouquet of imported orchids from Hawaii, with captions like "When someone knows how to treat you right, sparkling heart." These posts, visible to her 20,000 followers, including neighbors, temple acquaintances, and even a few of Kavita's cousins, made Rajan paranoid about exposure. His texts urgent, "You're playing with fire, Madison. Delete those posts before someone connects the dots." Madison's reply was defiant, tinged with hurt. "Maybe I want them to know. I'm tired of hiding who we are." Friends noticed Madison's shifting priorities, a marked change from her once open, bubbly demeanor. She canceled plans with Jessica repeatedly, citing urgent client work that seemed vague, a photo shoot that coincided with a hotel stay in Long Beach, a consulting call that stretched past midnight with no deliverables to show. Jessica later told detectives, her voice thick with regret, "She got so secretive, like she was guarding some huge secret. I'd asked about her new guy or her crazy schedule, and she'd shut me down, saying I wouldn't understand. It wasn't like her. She used to share everything, from her latest crush to her career dreams. I should have pushed harder." For Rajan, maintaining the double life exacted a steep psychological toll, eroding the composure that had defined his rise to success. His knack for compartmentalizing, honed through years of juggling high-stakes projects and cultural duties, began to falter under the strain of constant deception. The lies showed physically, dark circles under his eyes from 3 a.m. insomnia, a 7-pound weight loss despite his unchanged diet of quinoa salads and chicken curry, a new edge to his voice that startled colleagues during Zoom calls when he'd snap over minor delays. At home, Kavita noticed his distraction during their nightly rituals, like watching Arian debug code for his mental health app or helping Priya rehearse her Bharatanatyam choreography for an upcoming festival. His iPhone buzzed incessantly, and he'd step into the garage to answer, claiming client emergencies in Dubai or New York, his excuses growing thinner. "You're not yourself, Rajan," Kavita said one evening over chai, her voice soft but laced with worry. "Is work too much, or is something else going on? You can tell me, we're a team." When Aryan, now 16 and increasingly perceptive, remarked that he'd driven by Mediteka's office during a school errand and hadn't seen his dad's Tesla despite a claimed late meeting, Kavita's concern deepened, her intuition flaring. She confronted Rajan more firmly, her voice steady but her hands trembling around her mug. "You're hiding something." "I deserve to know what's going on, Rajan. We've built too much for secrets." Rajan deflected with assurances of stress from a new $6 million hospital contract, his tone soothing but his eyes avoiding hers, a rare crack in his usual confidence. The exchange left Kavita uneasy, a seed of doubt taking root in her mind for the first time in their 17-year marriage, though she couldn't yet imagine the depth of his betrayal. The affair's financial strain grew significant, a hidden burden that threatened to unravel Rajan's carefully curated life. Credit card statements showed charges at upscale restaurants like Spago, boutique hotels in Santa Barbara with ocean view suites, and luxury retailers on Rodeo Drive. $3,500 for a diamond pendant from Van Cleef Arpels, $2,000 for a weekend suite at the Four Seasons, that Rajan couldn't explain to Kavita without raising suspicion. To conceal them, he opened a separate account with a private bank, rationalizing it as a temporary measure until he could sort things out with Madison. By July, the balance neared $40,000, a secret debt that forced him to dip into a retirement fund, liquidating $50,000 in stocks to cover payments without alerting his wife, each transaction a stab of guilt he drowned in scotch. Dr. Amelia Patel, analyzing Rajan's psychological state post-arrest, noted a classic case of cognitive dissonance that fueled his downward spiral. His identity as a devoted family man and cultural exemplar clashed violently with his actions as an unfaithful partner, she testified, her voice clinical but empathetic. This created intense anxiety, which he tried to alleviate through deeper deception rather than confronting the root issue: his inability to reconcile his personal desires with his public persona. The affair became an addiction, a way to escape the suffocating expectations of his role as a perfect husband, father, and leader, but it came at a catastrophic cost. Madison's emotional demands intensified through June and July, her frustration with their secrecy boiling over into heated exchanges that left both raw. Recovered signal messages revealed her longing for a real, open commitment. "I'm sick of hiding us, Rajan. When are you telling Kavita? I can't keep pretending I'm okay being your dirty little secret." She daydreamed aloud about a future together, launching a joint tech media venture leveraging Rajan's expertise and her social media savvy, traveling to Bali as a couple, living openly in a chic downtown loft with floor-to-ceiling windows. These fantasies ignored the cultural and social barriers that made such a life impossible. Rajan's marriage was not just a personal bond but a cultural contract, tied to family honor, community expectations, and the concept of dharma, duty above desire. Divorce would mean financial ruin, alimony, child support, splitting assets like their $4.5 million home, loss of custody, battles over Aryan and Priya, who'd be torn between parents, and ostracism from the South Asian community, where infidelity was a scarlet letter that could end lifelong friendships and lucrative business referrals. His temple board position, a source of immense pride, would be revoked, his speeches on integrity rendered hypocritical, his name whispered in shame at community dinners. The relationship hit a breaking point in early August when Madison stumbled across a family photo on Kavita's Instagram. Posted during a temple event, captioned "Counting down to our India adventure. Family time in Ahmedabad." The Mehtas were planning a September trip to visit relatives in Gujarat, a detail Rajan hadn't shared with Madison, likely to avoid confrontation. Feeling betrayed, she called him in a fury, her voice shaking through the encrypted line. "You're planning a romantic getaway with her while telling me I'm your future? How could you lie to me like that? Do I mean nothing?" Her words cracked with hurt and rage, each syllable a dagger, as recovered call logs later revealed. The argument escalated into their first major fight, a 45-minute screaming match over signal that left both drained. Madison issued an ultimatum: take concrete steps toward leaving Kavita, consult a divorce lawyer, draft separation papers, or she'd end it for good. I'm done being your side piece, she snapped, her voice breaking. Rajan pleaded for patience, citing his children's emotional well-being and the cultural fallout of divorce. You don't understand my world, Madison. This isn't just about us. It's my kids, my community, everything I've built over 20 years. His promises to figure it out soon rang hollow, his tone defensive, a rare crack in his usual composure that betrayed his growing panic. In the aftermath, Madison's behavior turned erratic, driven by desperation and wounded pride, her actions teetering on obsession. She began driving past the Meta house at odd hours, 2 a.m. cruises in her Honda, parking down the street to observe their routines, Kavita watering her rose garden at dusk, Arian practicing penalty kicks in the backyard, Priya sketching mandalas on the porch. She scoured Kavita's social media for signs of marital discord, zooming in on photos for forced smiles or missing wedding rings, clinging to hope that Rajan's marriage was crumbling, that he'd choose her. Friends noticed her mood swings, from euphoric highs after secret hotel meetups to sullen lows when Rajan was unavailable, her eyes often red from crying or lack of sleep, her once vibrant energy dimmed. Jessica confronted her one afternoon over matcha smoothies at Creation Organic. Mads, you're not yourself. Who is this guy? Why's he got you so messed up? Madison brushed her off, muttering, you wouldn't get it, Jess. He's different. He sees me. On August 20th, Madison made a fateful decision, texting Rajan an ultimatum that would set the tragedy in motion. I'm done living like this. You choose me, or I'll choose for you. I won't be your secret forever. When he pressed for clarification in a panicked voice message, what do you mean, Madison? Let's talk, please, don't do anything rash. Her response was chilling, a line that struck fear into his core. Kavita deserves to know who she's really married to. So does your precious temple board. I'm tired of protecting your lies. The threat of exposure sent Rajan into a tailspin, his carefully constructed world, his company, his family, his standing, teetering on the edge of collapse. He called her repeatedly, leaving 15 voicemails in one night, his tone shifting from pleading to angry. You can't do this, Madison. You'll ruin everything, for both of us. Meet me, let's fix this. Madison blocked his number temporarily, asserting control in a way that terrified him, a power shift that threatened his sense of dominance, his carefully curated control over every aspect of his life. For 3 agonizing days, she maintained radio silence, leaving Rajan to spiral into a state of near paranoia. He couldn't focus at work, missing deadlines on a critical $6 million Kaiser contract and snapping at a junior developer over a minor bug in a patient portal, behavior so out of character that Vikram pulled him aside. Rajan, what's going on? You're scaring the team. At home, he was short with Arian over a spilled smoothie, an outburst that left Priya in tears and Kavita stunned. What's gotten into you? She asked, her voice trembling with concern. Sleep eluded him, his nights spent pacing his office, haunted by visions of public disgrace. Headlines branding him an adulterer, temple elders shunning him at prayer sessions, clients like Cedars-Sinai dropping contracts worth millions. His browser history, later recovered from an encrypted laptop, showed searches conducted at 3:30 a.m. Handling blackmail in relationships, consequences of affair exposure in California, how to stop someone from talking without legal trouble, each query a step toward a darker path. Dr. Amelia Patel explained this phase as a precursor to violence, a psychological tipping point. When a controlling relationship faces exposure or loss, the perpetrator often experiences what we call abandonment rage, a volatile mix of fear and anger that can trigger extreme actions, including homicide. Rajan's narcissistic traits amplified this. He viewed Madison not as a partner with agency but as a threat to his meticulously curated life, a problem to be neutralized at all costs. On August 23rd, Madison finally responded via a burner app, her tone resolute and cold, a stark contrast to her earlier warmth. "I've made my decision. Meet me tomorrow at our usual spot to settle this once and for all." The usual spot was a discreet motel in Van Nuys, a low-key venue with no security cameras and cash-only payments, where they'd met for months to avoid. As Rajan's lies began to unravel, Madison's patience snapped. The late-night calls grew sharper, the messages more demanding, and her threats impossible to ignore. She wanted a future, he wanted silence. But in the glamorous streets of Beverly Hills, secrets don't stay hidden forever. By the time whispers reached Rajan's family and Madison's closest friends, it was already too late. The stage for tragedy had been set. What really happened on that final night? Who pulled the strings, and who paid the ultimate price? We'll uncover all of that in Part 3, the shocking conclusion to this twisted story. So, before you go, drop your name and where you're watching from in the comments for a shout out in the next video. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss the truth behind this heartbreaking end.